So I have set up my structure. I have a folder called Demo. I have my MXD, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm not going to mess with a feature data set because I've got kind of unrelated layers here. I'm going to go into my map document properties. I'm going to store relative path names, and I'm going to make this file that I've created my default geodatabase. And I could fill, okay, I'm just good with this, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so the queries that you're accustomed to working with, I'm going to go ahead and turn this off for right now, are the attribute queries, and primarily you've done them from the table here, select by attributes, and this time we're going to go into the menu bar at the top. This docking and undocking is a total deprovement. So I'm going to go ahead and do select by attribute, and I'm going to choose my layer. So I want to look at counties first, and I want to maybe go through a couple. So I just want to get the counties that are in Oregon, and I can start here. So I have, oops, or Pennsylvania. I guess they're very similar places. Okay, so there we go. I've got the counties that are in Oregon. That works. I could do counties that are in Oregon and population that can't be all Oregon because we'd only have 36 counties, so that's pretty interesting. So I get all of those. Well, let's look at, let's just go here to Deschutes County, Crook County. Ah, it was close. Population, let's say over 30,000. Okay, and population greater than 30. So right now I'm looking at two fields. The population field from here and the state field. So I'm going to apply, and you can see it narrowed down my selection there. So I've got that. If I had chosen or, and I'll see if I can just change that out. There you go. So I got all of Oregon plus any other county whose population met my population requirement. So or can be kind of tricky on that one. All right, so select by attribute. Let's go here. Okay, so I've got my counties of interest here. That's interesting that that's a higher population. Anyway, okay, we're not staying with that thought, Lynn. Okay, so I've got those counties with the attribute selection. And now I want to look at some earthquake information. So I want to, so I really just want the earthquakes that are in these selected counties. So now I'm going to select by location. And yes, I want to select the earthquakes, and I want to select the U.S. counties, but because only Oregon is selected, that should be all that I get. Oh, and I say use the selected features. So I just want to use the ones that are in Oregon, and I want those that are let's just go intersect. Let's see what we get with that. And I'm not going to use a search. So I'm going to choose apply. And if I turn off, yep, so that looks good because it didn't get those counties and yeah, it didn't get those earthquakes, and those weren't the ones I wanted. So now I have just the 18 earthquakes that are in my selected counties of interest. And now from here, it's easy when it's a small table, but I can select by attribute from the earthquakes, and now I want to select from the current selection, and I want to go damage greater than, oh, let's say this one. And so those are the three. So I went from a double attribute query, state equals Oregon, and county with a population value. From that, I did a spatial selection of earthquakes that were within my selected counties, and then I went back to an attribute query looking at the earthquakes and selecting from my current selection, blah, blah, blah. Now that I have those three, I could do a couple things. If I export here, I'm only going to get a table, okay? So I want to make sure that I export from the feature class itself. So I can export my data, and I can put these where I'm going to go to File and Geodatabase. Those should have gone right here. It has to go inside the geodatabase, not beside the if I put it here and call that Quake OR, I don't know, whatever. If I put it there, I'm going to get an error message because it's not in the geodatabase. So if I wanted to save it as a shapefile, I can do that here. If I want it in the geodatabase, it has to go inside. So it says look in the geodatabase, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And there I have a completely separate feature class. Now, Price recommends going here, create layer from selected features, and there is my earthquake selection. And when I look at that, I only see those three. But I'm going to add a field called I don't know, I'm going to do some kind of data to this. So I've created a new field, and maybe I would do some calculations or do some analysis. The problem with saving this as a layer selection, if I go back to my data, which this is not divorced from, that field I created and any calculations I make will be done on that entire data set. And so I don't recommend saving them as a create a layer from selected features. I just save it separately, which is a really good thing to practice doing anyway, so that you kind of know where your data is. Let's see, so I'm going to remove that. There's my big Oregon earthquakes. I'm going to remove that. And I want to do, I want to select only Lane County right now. So I'm going to clear all my selections. I'm going to go into the select by rectangle, and I'm just going to select Lane County. So now if I wanted to get those road sections according to price, I could go to geoprocessing and clip, and I could wait while the clip box shows up. My input feature is the thing I want to clip, right? So it's like the cookie dough. So I'm going to clip major roads, and my clip feature is Lane County. Well, Lane County is part of U.S. counties, so I'm going to choose U.S. counties, and because Lane County is the only selected feature, that's the only thing that will be used as a clip feature. And because I set my geodatabase, this should automatically go there. And if I choose OK, there is my major roads. So we go ahead and move that up here, and I'm going to make that. And so you'll see that those sections of roads have been clipped from the original section and truncated. Now if I wanted to be able to have that road extend another 5 miles, I could go to geoprocessing and buffer, and my buffer is going to be U.S. counties again, and because Lane is the only one selected, this should only only buffer, or let's do a 15-mile buffer around that. Let's do a 25-mile buffer around that. And again, because I've set my geodatabase, this is going to come in as county buffers, but I'm going to change that to Lane County buffer. Okay, so there's a 5-mile buffer around Lane County. And now, if I wanted to clip the major roads by that, so I'm going to go back to major roads, and my clip feature is going to be Lane County buffer, and I'm going to call it, oh shoot, go back. Rah. And 25 miles. Okay. Okay, so the reason I might want to do that is now if I just want to zoom in on Lane County, my roads will extend a little bit beyond the edge. That's a weird road to show up right there, isn't it? That's very weird. And of course I could also set this to a state projection for Oregon, which would straighten that guy up, and turn off the buffer, and unselect Lane County, and then I could just look at that. Also easy just to take Lane County and export it. But you can see in just 14 minutes how many files I've created, just kind of messing around and playing around. But hopefully I know what each of these are, and I've recorded kind of the work I've done on that. So this is really kind of about making sure you know what you're selecting by, attribute or location. Are you selecting from currently selected features? Are you starting a new selection? Are you selecting based on just selected features there? Do you need to add a distance? So there's a lot of boxes to check, and a lot of ways to kind of mess it up, but it's, you know, you just try again in a different format.